step over, come inside on my trusty right foot and buried it in the bottom corner. And the adrenaline rush afterwards as well, when the whistle went and then you get in the dressing room, it's just, that's what you play football for, moments like that, you know. And it was certainly a memorable moment for me.
Hey guys, it's producer Ross here, and welcome back to another edition of Ross Meets, the series where I catch up with former Town players and talk about their careers from the ups to the downs and everything in between. And here we are, episode 16 of the series so far. I want to say a big thank you once again to everybody who has listened to the previous episodes. They've been a pleasure to bring you guys and hope you've enjoyed them, and many more to come, so stay tuned for them. So let's get stuck into today's episode and let's introduce our guest, which is former Town defender Neil Thompson. And what an absolute pleasure it was to speak to Neil about his career and his time at Portland Road. We went and spoke about a range of different things during his career, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm not going to ramble anymore. We're going to get stuck into the episode. I want to say a big thank you to Neil once again for chatting to me, and let's get into it. Hope you enjoy it. Let's go.
Hello.
Hi Neil, how are you?
Hi pal, you alright?
Yeah, all good. How are you coping with everything?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Yeah.
It's not nice. Not been a huge band because the weather's been good, I suppose.
It has, yeah.
You know, there's loads of stuff to do around the house. I've been getting out on my bike, doing a bit of golf now. So
whereabouts are you based at the moment then?
Well, I'm at home. I live near just outside of Hull, about 6-7 miles. That's where I'm from originally. So when I moved back from Ipswich all them years ago, we moved back here. We're still in the same house. So I've been here a while. So So it's alright. So I've got about just over an hour in the morning to get in. So it's not too bad. Yeah. There's worse journeys.
But thank you so much for taking the time up to chat to me about your career and stuff. So
yeah, fine. No worries. Fire away.
So so how I sort of start these podcast chats is sort of talk about your early days of your career. You know, the beginnings of Neil Thompson. You know, did you always want to play football when you were a kid?
Obviously played at school a lot. Played a lot of representative teams. I tended to play in a lot of teams like I was a year younger. And I think that gave me a good grounding, and then sort of played in the representative teams, the school teams, and then I got asked to go down to Notts Forest on trial with another lad that I played in the Sunday League team with, and I got taken on as an apprentice at Notts Forest in about 80-81, something like that. Yeah. So it was just after I'd won the European Cup 2 years running. So that was it was when Brian Clough was there, so that was quite interesting going down there, and you're going into a big club as it was at the time. It was at the top echelon of the game. So that's where it sort of started. When I left school, didn't stay on or anything. I went straight to be an apprentice down in Nottingham. Yeah.
I was, Brian Clough is well known for many different reasons, but did you have much interaction with him during your days there?
You didn't have a lot, because obviously with the first team, but I mean, it was one of, when he was in the building, you hadn't even seen him, but you knew he was there. Yeah. He's had such a presence about him, not just to the senior players, but to the younger players as well. And we obviously trained at different times and on different pitches, but occasionally you'd go and train with the first team. I remember when I think they bought Trevor Francis, first £1 million player, and I think he had an Achilles injury very early on, and he played a lot of matches against us youth team. I've got a few pictures of that when you're playing against Trevor Francis, this absolute superstar, and it was a good grounding, but it wasn't like the apprenticeship now. It was just up to your 18th birthday, so you didn't get 2 full years. You just got a year, and I'm an October birthday, so I only got just over a year to go and impress. And unfortunately, at the end of that time, I got released and moved back up to Hull, where I live, Hessel, where the Bridges, and I went and joined Hull City. Yeah. I was only at Forest a year and a bit, but it was a good experience all the same. Yeah,
and you said you moved. Did you move into a lot of digs back then, or?
When I moved down to Nottingham, I moved into digs there, so I stayed away. Obviously, got home occasionally because it's on quite a decent railway line back to Hull. I used to change at Sheffield and then come back up maybe after the game on a Saturday, and then I'd get a lift back in on there was a lad who played at Forest at the time, Stuart Gray, who went on to, he managed Sheffield Wednesday when I was there actually. So he lives just at the other side of Hull, so he used to take me back in. But then when I moved back to Hull, I moved back home to my parents, and I was there a couple of years, and made me my first team debut then under a manager called Mike Smith, who used to manage the Welsh team, and I remember I signed my first pro contract on £42 a week. Yeah. So that was slightly different to what it is now, definitely. Obviously. So that was another great experience for me. Actually going there, getting in the first team. They had a change in manager. A guy called Colin Appleton took over, and unfortunately I got released. I played about 30 odd games in the first team. I was a young lad. So the first 3 years of my career, I got 2 free transfers, and I thought, this ain't going down too good, this football, you think you're good, and then suddenly you have that hit you. So that was, it was a bit of a crossroads for me. In terms of where do you go next. There was a coach at Hull at the time called Cyril Lee. He went on to manage Colchester United.
He's a former Ipswich player, he is as well.
Cyril Lee, do you remember Cyril Lee?
Yeah,
he was at Ipswich as well for a long time, I think, under Bobby Robson.
He was, yeah.
He was at Hull City as a coach. And then he left and went to manage Colchester. And then when I got released at Hull City, he actually got in touch and wondered if I'd want to go down there full time, but it was what a great contract offer. Yeah. It was a long way from home, and so I did, and I'd had an offer to go and play up at Scarborough part time, and get myself a job. So I decided on that route, which it worked out well in the long run, but I can remember at the time it was a little bit of a dilemma. But I got myself a job. I first started off a delivery man for a stationery company, and then I went on to sell disposable nappies for a disposable nappy company called Produce UK Limited, a French company. So I did that, and obviously played up there part time. A guy called John Cotton was the manager, and it gives you a good grounding, because I was getting 40-50 games a season. You're getting up, doing your work. It gets you that work ethic. I'd finish my work at 5 o'clock on an evening, and then I'd trail all the way up to Scarborough to go training. And then you train twice a week, Tuesday, Thursdays, and then you played on the Saturday. And it was a brilliant time. We had a really good team, great set of lads. And obviously I was working. I was enjoying my work as a sales rep for this disposable nappy company. And then Neil Warnock took over. I remember he came to watch us. I think obviously it was in the offing and he was going to get the job. And he came to watch us down at Nuneaton. And I remember I was playing left back and I had an absolute nightmare. We got beat 5-0. Eddie McGoldrick, who went on to play at Palace and Arsenal, he gave me a right roasting. And Warnock came in as manager about a month later. Got rid of just about all the players apart from 2 or 3 of us, and he brought a whole new squad in, and it worked because we ended up the first season he was there. It got us promotion. We won the conference as it was then, and we got promotion into the Football League. By this time, I'd swapped jobs. I'd gone and got a job as a sales rep down at Whitbread, selling beer. To the off-licence trade and the cash and carry trade, and another good job. Really enjoyed it. Still doing the part-time stuff, training a couple of times a week, and playing on a Saturday and playing midweek, and that was quite demanding, I've got to say. Your time was never yourself. You're always somewhere or the other, and trying to fit it all in was sometimes a bit of a bind. But as I said, I think it gave me a really good grounding to understanding the value of what you're doing and that work ethic that you have. And then when we went into we got promotion into the league under Warnock, his first under Neil. He was brilliant with us. Absolutely, just talk about getting a team together as a team spirit. He was fantastic at that. He got a group of players together. and you know, we went on that pitch and we weren't going to get beat. I think we won 14 away games on the bounce or something silly like that during that season, and you know, we used to go, you know, and just grind results out. But we had a great set of lads, and we went into the Football League, and fortunately I went full time then. Gave me a job up at Whitbread, another big decision. But I decided to give it another go and went full time. And obviously went into the league with Scarborough as Neil as manager. We had a really good start to the season, and I think Neil left in the new year, went to manage Notts County. I don't know if I think that might have been the first season in the Football League, and or even the second season maybe. But we ended up getting to the players. A lad called Colin Morris took over, a winger from Sheffield United, who was a real nice guy. And we got to the semi-final of the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
And we've missed out on promotion, I think, by 1 point or 2 points. Which was, you know, because we'd done really well all season. And we played the team in 7th position, because it was the top 3 went up and then the next 4 in playoffs. And the team who finished in 7th position, Leyton Orient, I think we finished 12 points ahead of them, but we lost over 2 legs to them, 2-1 I think it was.
Yeah, so lottery, innit?
So that was really, you know, a really hard pill to swallow, you know. And I remember I came off the pitch, and a friend of mine, a guy called Mike Sims, who was a hotelier in Scarborough, but he'd moved down to Ipswich, or to Woodbridge, I think he lived at. And I spoke to him after he came to watch the game at Leyton Orient's ground, and he said, it's all over the papers in Ipswich that Ipswich are going to sign you. It's the first time I've ever heard of it. I mean, I didn't have an agent in them days or anything like that. It was, you know, it was just, you know, word of mouth really. So so I didn't think, I thought, oh, that's nice, but I didn't think a lot of it. So anyway, we go back in the next week, and I went to see Colin Morris, and we'd had a good season. I asked for, he never mentioned anything about a move or anything, so as you do if you've had a good season. I think I got in the Division 4, as it was then, a representative team that year, and I asked for a rise in money, and he said he'd think about it, and that was it. Went away for the season. Anyway, about a couple of weeks later, I got a call, and within the hour I was making my way down to Ipswich. John Duncan was the manager at the time, and obviously they decided to an offer had been accepted, and I was on my way to Ipswich, and I can just remember thinking how long that A14 was, because it never ends, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Because I went down with my wife, and obviously it was we had a little girl at the time, Leanne, and I mean, you're always going to sign the contract because it's what a fantastic opportunity. So that was that. So. And when you go down to, you know, you played non-league and you trust your ability. But I remember I came in, I went into Portman Road the next morning, and the first person I saw, I think, was John Bork, and then Sergei Baltacha, and I was just thinking, have I bitten off more than I can chew here? Am I going to be good enough to deal with this? But yeah, we got signed, and that was all changed then. You know, we moved down. I think we got a house a rented house in Shotley initially, and then we moved to Warren Heath when we got our house sold up here. And yeah, that was the start of a 7-year career down in East Anglia, which was brilliant. Yeah.
Who you mentioned, you know, Walkie and Baltacha, you know, who helped you settle in when you first signed and stuff?
Well, you know, when you go you go to a new. I mean, I must mention Charlie Woods as well. He was the guy who came and I think came up to Scarborough and like obviously did the scouting, and he always says when I spoke to him in later years, I can remember sitting in that stand and the seagulls shitting on him. But there you go. I don't think you should print that, but you know, he just remembered his trip up to Scarborough, you know, and we always have a little whenever I see him, which is not as often as you'd like. But you know, obviously, you know, that was sort of that we shared. But yeah, when I came down, quite a few really. I mean, over the years, Mickey Stockwell and his wife, we were very close to them because the kids were of similar age as we moved through the years at Ipswich. So Mickey was one who helped to settle in. But everyone, everyone was great. We just settled in nice. Craig Forrest just lived over the road from me in Warren Heath. But yeah, it's such a brilliant club. Just a friendly club. I remember Pete Trevian was, I think, doing a little bit of first team stuff with John at the time, and he took us round to areas where we might buy a house, etc. So at Cobbold in the office, all the players were, just it was, for me, it was like, what an opportunity, and it was. We had a young baby. Leanne was only one, I think, or coming up to one. So it was quite a big move for the family, moving away from family up here. But it was an opportunity to go and play at a level that I dreamed of playing at, and seeing if I can hack it.
Yeah. But, you mentioned John Duncan. He left or got sacked after that one season, your first season, and then John Lyle came in. Just talking about John Duncan first. He's the one who brought you in. I know Charlie scouted you, but he must have gone, let's take a punt on this guy.
I think there was I think, if I'm right in saying, there was maybe two left backs we were looking at. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think the other one was a more experienced one, and then there was myself. So obviously, I was really pleased that. I didn't know this till later, but I was the one that got picked, and John was fine. He was tough, straight talking. I think the first when I came, the pre-season trip, we went to Kiev for 10 days, which was horrific. It was like, it was when obviously Glasnost and everything was happening, so it was a little bit different out there. But I mean, what an experience to go there, and but it was 10 days of real, there wasn't a lot to do apart from train and play games. But that was, and it gave me an opportunity to get to know the lads as well, which was good. But John was fine. He was, it just didn't happen. We had a okay season. If I remember rightly, I think I did okay. It was me thinking, can I, as I said before, can I handle this level of football? And it seemed to go all right. And obviously, at the end of that season, John moved on. It's funny because now John works for the LMA as a mentor.
Okay.
And I've seen him quite regularly over the years during my coaching career, and get on with him great. He's a lot more laid back, placid character than what he was then. That is for sure. Yeah. But he's been great with me over the years, coaching on the coaching side. So unfortunately, it didn't work for John, and then John Lyle took over, and that was brilliant because John just knew the job, knew the game, he knew how to handle players, knew how to get a spirit amongst people, and he took us all back to school really about the basics, and added one or two individuals, and it sort of clicked. And in any promotion season that you get, I mean, funnily enough, the season I got released at Hull City, we'd actually got promotion, and I played a few games. The season at Scarborough, we got promotion, and the one resounding factor of all the promotions is the team spirit among the squad. Yeah. It's absolutely key. Everyone's got to be, it certainly was in them days anyway, you've got to be singing from the same song sheet, and John was good at that, and he'd give you just little snippets every now and again, whether it be on the training pitch, whether it be in the dressing room, whether it be during a game, and you just listened, because it was a font of knowledge, was John, and obviously transformed the team.
Yeah. You mentioned like Brian. You knew Brian was in the building. Would you say the same with John? I've heard from different stories.
In a different way, because I think Brian Clough was, he had this aura about him. Mm-hmm. There was a bit of a fear factor. There's no question about that. Not just with young players, but with senior players as well. With John, it wasn't quite like that. It was. He had a presence about him, and when he walked into a room, you listened. Because you respect everything he's done in the game, and he had a real authority about him, but it was a good authority, if you know what I mean. As I say, when he spoke, you did listen. I remember one game we played Cambridge at home, and I didn't get into too many sort of arguments with him, but after the game, I think Gary Rowett scored from a corner. I think we got beat at home. This is promotion season, okay. And I was marking Rowett, and and I think I got obstructed, or I felt I did, and Gary Rowett nipped in front and scored. And after the game, I remember we had words, and then I watched a video of it afterwards and realised that he was right and I was wrong. So I went in tail between the legs Monday morning and apologised. But hey, that's the emotion of a game. But yeah, John was, I think if you ask anyone from that era, from that team, have the utmost respect, and he did so much for your game. You just can't buy it.
That his first season, we unfortunately finished 14th, but then you mentioned, of course, the promotion season. Did you feel going into pre-season, do you feel something was sort of building?
I think so. I think any promotion season you have, you just get a little sense. Well, I have anyway, in the ones I've had. I'm sure we'll come on to when I left Ipswich and went to Barnsley. That was one of the cases as well. But certainly at Ipswich, you felt there was just a confidence about people. I think John Watt come back into the team, come back from, and obviously was a massive influence. And then I think, was it Paul Goddard came as well?
Yeah.
And things just clicked. And even when I remember the season, even when we didn't play brilliant, we just seemed to nick results, or we used to get a point, or we seemed to get something out the game. We had a group of players which really there weren't a lot of major injuries that season. I think everyone usually, we had probably picked from a squad of 15, 16 players in total throughout the season. The vast majority of the games come from that group. And when you do that, you get a level of consistency, and there was a level of confidence in it. So you just sense it, and then it builds. But you still got to go out and get the results. So they don't just fall on your lap. And there's a few bumps in the road as you go along. There's one or two bad results that you get, and you've got to be able to bounce back from them.
That season you scored. I'm going to bring this up. You scored 6 goals that season, and then one of those is a very memorable goal indeed, a late stunner against Southend. What's your memories of that?
I remember it very well. Grand National Day it was.
Yeah.
I think I backed the winner in the National that day as well, party politics.
Yeah.
I think, it was packed, the place was packed, little ground. Was it Easter Bank Holiday?
I think so, yeah. I
think it was a bank holiday anyway. I think I had to, in the first half, I think it was quite an even game. I think they had opportunities, so did we. And I think Phil Whelan, was he making his debut, I think? And he scored from, I put a corner over in the first half, and Phil headed it in. So we went 1-0 up. And then we're pushing a bit second half. They've had one or two opportunities, but it's not, we're reasonably comfortable, I felt. And I think we got a penalty. And then I think Walkie missed the penalty.
Yeah.
And then they go score, and then you just, you think, oh, that's it, But things like what happened at the end in a promotion season tend to happen to you.
Yeah.
You can't put in. I don't know how you explain it, but it just, things do happen for you. And I remember, I think we cleared a corner, and I found myself breaking out, because I think I used to mark near post anyway at corners. So I found myself breaking out from the edge of the box, and there's no one anywhere really. They had a few players back. It was a really hot day, if I remember rightly. So and it just opened up, and I just kept going. Got to the edge of the box and looked up, and there weren't too many people in the box to pass it to. So I sort of did a step over, come inside of my trusty right foot, and buried it in the bottom corner. And that was a brilliant moment for me and for the team, obviously, because we snatched it. Well, we should have won the game anyway, but to snatch it at the end like that was brilliant. The adrenaline rush afterwards as well, when the whistle went, and then you get in the dressing room. It's just, that's what you play football for, moments like that, And it was, it was certainly a memorable moment for me.
Yeah. Do you think from that game, a lot of town fans say that is the day they felt we're going to go and win the league or win promotion anyway? Did you feel like the players in the dressing room and?
Yeah, I think something like that really gives people a lift, and we had a lot of belief anyway. But I think it just cements that belief and gives you that confidence. I think we had a follow-up game on the Tuesday against Wolves. Yeah. Did we win 2-1 or was it 2-0?
2-1. Yeah.
I think 2-1. I think Stevie Wick got a penalty.
Yeah.
to finish it off. I think Phil scored again. I think I built a corner over and Phil Whelan scored. Yeah. And then we got a penalty. I don't think we played brilliant, but we just dug a result out. So you're thinking Saturday, Tuesday, 2 games which could have been 2 points, you end up with 6 points. And things like that really catapult you. And after that, I think we picked up results. I think we had just on the running, I think we lost to Sunderland and I think we lost to Bristol, was it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
On the running, 2 consecutive games, so doubts begin to spring to your mind, but we're nearly there then, I think. Then we had 2 draws and then we obviously beat Brighton in the last game, but it was just a brilliant season with some just brilliant lads, great players, Walkie, Dave Linigan, Mickey, Craig, Frank Yalla, just the list goes on, Stevie Waite, Chrissy Kerr, Jason,
Yes, no, yeah.
And I mean, just ultimate respect for all of them, and you don't keep in touch with them as much as you'd like, but there's times that I pop down to the dinner afterwards, the ex-players dinner, and seen them, and you just pick up where you've left off. So, we had a group of players that all contributed. Yeah. They all contributed in the season, and that was a memorable year, that is for sure.
Yeah. What's your memories from the the Oxford game? Because that was sort of the day we clinched, the title and everything. That celebrations in the dressing room.
I think it was another hot day. And it was like, I think I'm trying to think. I think my wife came. I think it was maybe the first day because we'd had James, my lad. She'd only just sort of had him about at the start of the season, so it was really. I think it was one of the first games he'd gone to. Not that I knew much about it, but we got there and it was warm and it was again a nip and tuck game. I mean, I was concentrated on. I don't know if I was marking Joey Beecham that day. That might have been. It's funny because a couple of years later, a year later, or 2 years later, when I was with Barnsley, we ended up. We'd won promotion with Barnsley, and the last game of the season was at Oxford as well. Yeah. So that was a bit ironic, but. You just concentrating on your own game really, and I think we draw 1-1, and Gav Gav Johnson got the goal, I think. Yeah, he did. But the celebrations afterwards were brilliant. In the dressing room, we'd gone up, and then your home game the next week is a free hit, and you can go and enjoy it, which we did. So just what you play football for. Them moments are few and far between, but when they come, they're brilliant.
Yeah. That we got promoted to the first ever Premier League season. Did you guys as players, did you know much about this new Premier League and TV and all that?
No, we just heard about it, and obviously it was just starting, and to be the first team to win the Champion or the Division 1 as it was then, to go up into the Premiership was quite an honour for us anyway. Yeah. And just for us, we were going into the top division. I mean, the Premier League was a name, wasn't it? Obviously, it's got the profile of it now is absolutely massive, and it's totally changed. The money side of it, TV, etc. So, but we knew we were going into the big league, and it was going to be a test for everyone, which it was. But one that everyone, couldn't wait to get started on, and certainly for myself, when I'd come from Scarborough 4 or 5 years earlier to actually go and be playing in the Premier League was something I could only dreamed of, really, and it was happening. So that was something to really look forward to.
Yeah. Hopefully I got my facts right. I think you only scored, of course you're a left back, you only scored 2 Premier League goals, but I think that's correct. Is that right?
I'll take your word. I know one of them was it Norwich on the TV game.
Yeah, that's what.
I think the Norwich goal was. I think it was. It might have been the first ever Monday night game.
I think it was. Yeah.
I think it was. I think it was the first ever Monday night game. We won 2-0. Yeah. And I remember I got played in. I played the ball in, and then got played in down the left, and I don't know where I got the energy from to do my celebrations, but it was a great moment, especially against Norwich as well. Obviously East Anglian derby, and to score in it. I think I'd scored against Norwich in the Hospital Cup we used to have as a pre-season game. That was my first season, and I'd scored at the other end of Carrow Road. So to actually do it there in a proper game, and certainly in the Premier League, was just brilliant. And I mean that first half of the season, the lads we just carried on where we'd left off the season before. That adrenaline, the confidence, and we got ourselves in a really good position. Then after Christmas, we struggled, and we struggled to win a game, which was once you got in that rut against these top teams, it was really tough, and we just hung on at the end. But that first 4 or 5, 6 months of the season was brilliant.
I think during that time, Boncho Gwenchev came in. Do you have much interaction with him? During the playing days?
Yeah, Boncho, a great lad. Obviously it was a time when there was a bit more of an influx of foreign players anyway, and Boncho come in and took a little bit of time to settle, if I remember rightly, but become a bit of a fan's favourite as well. And one or two other individuals, one or two other players came in as well. So that was part of going up. You're going to get a bit more competition for places, and you've got to really work hard and make sure that you produce the goods, or else that's the nature of football. Someone's there ready to take your place, and Boncho he came in and supplemented the forward line.
Of course, we stayed up that season, and I think one of the final games was against Nottingham Forest at Portland Road. I think it was Brian Clough's last ever game. I think they were relegated at that point. Have you got any memeries of that?
Well, my memories of that is I was injured, I think, and I didn't play. I didn't play, and I remember, being in the dressing room area. Obviously, he wasn't a well man at that time, was it? No. And that was playing for everyone to see. But I remember Alan Hill, who worked for Forest. He was there when I was an apprentice at Forest. Okay. He was one of the main scouts and everything. So I had a good chat with him, and that was. I just remember the crowd when he was coming off the pitch at the end. Sad day, because obviously just such a legend manager anyway,
Then the next season, a bit of more of a struggle, but we did still survive.
I mean, for me, personally, I started to get one or two little niggly injuries as well, which was unfortunate, and it was like really frustrating. I couldn't really, I got in the team, got out the team, got injured, and I was sort of getting to what was it, about 30, 31, something like that. And so you take a little bit longer to recover, so that was frustrating for me, because I thought I'd done in the first season of the Premier League, certainly the first half of the season, I thought I'd acquitted myself quite well. Starting to get little niggly injuries was not good, and it was very frustrating for myself. It's hard to put which season was which season, but I remember one time I got fit, and I think it was pre-season. I come back in really good nick, and the first game of the season I did my medial ligament at Birmingham, and then another training session, I think had a collision, can't remember who with, but I did my posterior cruciate, which was really, I mean, they couldn't do anything surgically, just got to let it mend, and I think I was out a total of 6 months for that. So it was the beginning of a frustrating time in terms of injuries, because you knew when you played you were okay. It was just getting that rhythm and getting that base fitness, and the more you play, the stronger you get. And when you couldn't get a run in the team due to injury, it was very frustrating. But it was a battle for everyone. In terms of staying up. Was that the season that we got the 0-0 at Blackburn, the last game of the season?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Well, I played in that game, I remember, at Blackburn, which was a really nervy affair. I think Sheffield United were at Chelsea, were they? And they got a late goal or something. And then that was a really nervy game, if I remember rightly. Ian Marshall had come in that season, or had come in the season before, I think, the one that went up. But that was a nervy game, the Blackburn one. So, the second season in the Premiership was, for myself personally, was a little bit of a stop-start, and so it continued after that, really, for myself.
The next season, of course, was another struggle. John Law, of course, left, and then George Burley came in. What was your first interaction with him? Yeah,
George, he was fine. Obviously, he played at the club, and a fan's favourite, and he came in. But again, for myself, I was niggling injuries, and that was so frustrating. You know, and I knew that there was like Gavin Johnson there, who and I think Mauricio took coming at that time. He was a young boy,
Yeah, he was, yeah.
who had bags of potential. So you know, I could see these two guys taking the left back position. So that was frustrating when he couldn't get. I played a few games, but not as many as I should. But when you're injured, you're injured. And, you know, I'd had a really good run up to the age of 30, playing 40, 50 games a season, no problem. I'd had odd one or two injuries, but then after that, I just started to pick up one or two niggles, and one or two that were a bit more serious. So it sort of takes its toll a wee bit. So I think at the end of that season, was that the one that I got released on?
I think, no, you were one more season after that.
One more season. Again, as I said, the last two and a half seasons, that's what happened, and yeah, frustrating time. But you know, it's just one of them things. And then, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the club's got to look to the future, aren't they? You know, and you know, if someone's in the 30s and they keep getting injured, you know, you look back at now, obviously, you know, when it happens to you and you get released, and one or two free transfers anyway, so that didn't worry me, but you're frustrated and a bit upset, and that's how it works. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm in coaching now, and I know very well how it works, and you know, you've got two young lads underneath who have great potential, and there's probably only one decision to make, and they probably made the right decision. Obviously, probably I didn't think so at the time, but that's the way football works. And you know, it certainly didn't affect my love of the club and the time there, because the supporters have been absolutely brilliant with me, and the players, all the players and the managers, and you know, I got looked after really well, and look back at that time with a really great sense of pride. You know.
Yeah. I just want to quickly bring up about I don't really understand what was going on between, you know, John Lyle and Mick McGivern in terms like Mick was sort of having the more control of the game to game stuff. I think more John went upstairs and stuff. You know, what's your?
I didn't really take a lot of notice of it, to be quite honest. Yeah, I mean, Mick did a lot of the training, and Mick very experienced and liked Mick a lot. Mm-hmm. Had a great knowledge of the game, and obviously John went upstairs and did that, and we just got on with it. Unfortunately, what happens is with football, you win some, you win some games, you lose some, and it obviously didn't work out quite well enough, because obviously people moved on and George Bailey came in. So, but no, I mean, there was no big issues with the players as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Just during that relegation season, there's one game I'm unfortunately going to have to bring up, the 9-0. The 9-0 against Man United.
Which one? On the 4th of March? What do you mean? Not that I remember it well. No. Was it 94, was it?
Yeah, 95, I think.
95, 4th of March 95, yeah. It was, it was quite humbling, because we got absolutely battered. And it's just... You know, it's just one of them things. I mean, I think the season before, I think we'd gone up there and I think we drew 1-1, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
I think it was a night game, and then I think I'd played up there before. I think Chris Kiwombi scored, and I think that was 1-1 when the new, I think Stretford had come down and the rebuilding. The 9-0. I mean, it was very humbling. You know, they were exceptional on the day. Could have had more than the 9, and I think they scored the 9, and there was still a few minutes left, you know. So it was, just one of them things. I mean, it was. You wanted to crawl under a stone and wait for the next week to come as quick as you can. But you know, at the end of the day, I look back at it. Am I embarrassed by it? No, not really, because I was on the pitch there, and you know, I tried everything I could personally. It didn't work, and sometimes, you know, confidence can be seen as people not trying. I can assure everyone was trying that day, but it just didn't work for us, and they were exceptional. So, it was very interesting. If I'm not mistaken, I think one reporter said I look like a piece of Lego in a Meccano set. There you go. But it's one of them things. I mean, it prepared me nicely, because when I was at Barnsley, when we got promotion into the Premier League, I got beat 7 at Old Trafford as well.
Improvement then.
Yeah. So that was a couple of, I think that was 97. 2 years later in the October. But I mean, Andy Cole was on fire, and yeah, it's I'm sure it's been spoke about a lot, but it's it wasn't very nice at the time. But as professionals, you've got to take it on the chin. You got to move on and do whatever you can to rectify it. So it was not a nice time at all.
Yeah. I spoke to Alex Matty a couple of days ago about his career and of course about that game because he played, and he said he probably had touched the ball 3 times during that game.
Yeah. I mean, they were just totally dominant, totally dominant in the game. It was like, and once we got into that little bit of a rut, we just couldn't get out of it, and and we just didn't play as a team. Simple as that, and we got our comeuppance. So it was I got a lot of touches, probably picking the ball out the net.
Yeah. Then, of course, we got relegated. Did you feel from that game, or was it a few games before that you felt?
Well, I think when you get into a season where you get relegated, you're like, you just get into that mode where you don't know where the next win's coming from and the next points are coming from, and maybe that team had just run its course, and changes need to happen. It's not nice, but Premier League's a tough place, a really tough place to go and play your football. And unfortunately, we were just on the wrong end of it.
Then your final season, I think you didn't play many games, but there's one memorable moment that I've rewatched a few times because it goes on social media every year. Your goal against Portsmouth, that free kick and that celebration.
I remember that. Yeah,
did a cartwheel.
I remember that. I was due to play golf the next day and I had to pull out because of a back injury. I wonder why. But I remember. Portsmouth, the free kick, and I think if you notice from the clip, I think Mauricio played, and I think there was Milts as well around the ball, and I just obviously decided to hit it, and it was sweet as a nut. And luckily enough, it went in the top corner, and them moments are brilliant, especially at the end of it. I mean, I think it was deep into injury time, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, yeah.
So obviously that was you play football for moments like that. You'll get a lot of bad moments, and you get a lot of good moments, and you've got to treasure them, and that was certainly one of them. So it was somewhat. My game was based on having a decent left foot. I was a decent delivery from free kicks, and I could pass the ball and corners, and I could score the odd goal. And I had to certainly as a player, because I was really, when I started playing, I was a left winger. I had to work on the defensive side of my game. When I was at Hull City, Mike Smith converted me to being a left back. So from playing school where I never played at the back, played in midfield or up front, I had to really work out this defensive side of my game because it wasn't a natural thing for me to do. My natural game was to get forward and join the attack and be effective in that part of the pitch, which I think I did to quite good effect. And the other side of the game, as you go along, the older you get better at positional play and 1v1s, etc. And it's funny that you're the best player when you're older, when you're in your mid-30s and you haven't got any legs left. Because you've got all this knowledge, but your body just let you down. So I mean, my left foot was what I based my game on and tried to add little bits to it.
Is there a story behind that celebration, or was it just in the moment? Like, you scored an absolute cracker.
It was just in the moment. I knew I could do one of them. I think it was an Arab Spring. I used to do it at school, and I used to do a bit of gymnastics at school, and it just happened. I think just the euphoria of the moment, being late into injury time, and you wanting to, and you get the winner of the game. I mean, it's and I think that we were having a bad time at the time, weren't we? The team.
I think so, yeah.
I don't think, and I think, I think everyone was under a wee bit of pressure. So I think it was a big relief for everyone that we actually won the game.
Yeah, you mentioned you felt your time was up there. Did you have a word with George about you're getting a bit older now and.
Well, we won like that really. I played. I'd been injured. I think I'd had an Achilles operation. Wow. I think my last game was maybe at Charlton, at the Old Valley, at the Valley. I think when it was just getting redone before they moved to Selhurst Park. I think. And I'd been having trouble with my Achilles, and it obviously turned out that I needed an op. So I had an operation, and I was racing to get fit before the end of the season, and I think the season has actually finished. And we had a reserve game down at Watford, and I wanted to play in it to test what me, because I wanted to go away pre-season knowing that my ankle was up, my Achilles was all right, and I was fit to do my pre-season stuff and everything, get ready for next season. Anyway, then I played in the game, scored, and come through it fine, and then 2 days later, as football is, you get released. And, obviously I went to see George and he brought bad news, which is never nice, but that's the manager's job. And as I said earlier, I had a couple of seasons, maybe 2.5 seasons, where I was getting niggly injuries and 1 or 2 bigger ones. So obviously, the club felt it was time to move on. And obviously Mauricio was waiting in the wings he'd already played quite a few games anyway, him and Gav, and, that's football. You got to move on. But at 32, nearing 33, I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? It was like I didn't have an agent. It's like I thought I was down in Ipswich, and the family thought we were going to stay there for a long, long time. And when I got released, obviously it was in the press. I actually got a call, I think, from Ipswich Council asking me if I'd be interested in being the sports development officer. but I still think I had a little bit of football left in me. So we didn't have an agent in them days. So I wrote to every club in the Championship, Division 1 and Division 2.
Cool.
And I only got maybe 10 replies. I went down to see Leyton Orient. I think Pat Holland was manager at the time, and he offered me something, and I was still waiting to see if I could get a Championship club. And it's just really weird that one day I said to my wife, Jo, that I think Barnsley are going to ring me today. And she said, why? I said, well, every time we played Barnsley, I had a really good game. I'd played well against Barnsley. And no word of a lie, that night, Eric Winstanley rung me up from Barnsley. Wow. And we went the next day over to Barnsley and signed a 2-year contract.
Wow.
So, and that season, I remember coming out of the negotiations with Danny Wilson, who was the manager at the time. And as I was coming out, I said, what about a bonus if we get promotion to the Premier League? He said, you'll be lucky. Anyway, we agreed on a figure, which was quite nice. Yeah. And obviously, we got promotion end of that season. Yeah. But if I remember rightly, Barnsley, they played some cracking football at that time. Neil Redfern was manager, not manager, playing. It brought John Hendry in, Paul Wilkinson, Clint Marcel. Harry Antezou was playing. They had a really good team. And I remember going to pre-season. I was just recovering from my Achilles operation, and I sort of got onto the training pitch, and I thought, these are decent. I've got to get me act together here. And got myself fit pre-season. Didn't have a great pre-season. We went to West Brom in the first game of the season, 1-2-1, played really well. I think I made the winner for Andy Liddell. And we went on a run of 5 games, won every first 5 games of the season, accumulated in a game at Man City. I think we won 2-0. Man City were down in, obviously, the Championship that time. So that set us off on a run. And again, the team, great camaraderie, great set of lads, played some brilliant football. And we tended a bit like the Ipswich promotion. When we didn't play well, we tended to pick points up and tended to, just drag results out. Biggest thing was the camaraderie of the team was brilliant. We ended up, I think, runners up to Bolton at the end of the season. So I think, again, I got a little injury sort of halfway through, missed a bulk of games. I think it was a hamstring or a calf, I think. So I ended up playing something like 28 games or something that season, but scored 5 or 6 goals, contributed, and obviously won the league and got runner-up and got back in the Premier League, which was, I was thinking, at 33, the Premier League, it might be a little bit quick for me, but there you go.
Yeah, that must be good for you. You think this is your peak of your career, or at the end of your career, now back in the Premier League for one more it will go.
Yeah, and that's how football is, isn't it? You know, I've had 7 great seasons at Ipswich. Loved the club to bits. Loved everyone down there. Family was settled, and then you get the disappointing news you're getting released, which is part and parcel of what football is. We all know that. Don't know what I'm going to do. Don't know if I'm going to even be in the game, because you just don't know. Then Barnsley give me a call, go down there, get signed, and then a year later you get promotion.
Yeah.
And I get that bonus I asked for, which was nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was, it just total turnaround. Oh, and we moved back up to where the family are up here, up in Yorkshire. So yeah, it was disappointing to leave Ipswich, but obviously, you've got to move on, and we did with Barnsley. And then when we were in the Premier League, I was 34 at the time, so it was a little bit much. Played a few games, did okay. We did get beat at Man United, like I said, but we had some decent performances. But round about just after Christmas, I think I went on loan to, because I won't get in a game, I went on loan to Oldham. Neil Warnock was manager, so I went on loan there. So I went on loan there for 2 months, came back, and then I went on loan to York City. I had 2 months there, and when that season's finished, I got a job as player coach at York, and then I entered my coaching career. So yeah, so it was it worked out all right. You want to go on forever playing, and you want to stay in the same place sometimes, but it don't happen like that.
Yeah. Did you always feel like you want to go into coaching when?
Yeah, well, I think me and Mickey Stockwell took our air licence badge, I think, when we were like 27, when we were at Ipswich at the time. I think I can remember me and Mick, Brian Clew was manager of the academy, our centre of excellence as it was then, and we used to go and do a little bit of coaching upstairs in the gym. I can remember seeing Kieran Dyer up there as a 12-year-old, or 11, 12-year-old. Yeah. Slip of a lad, but obviously, you could tell he had ability. So I got my coaching badges really early, and from then right up to really now, you just continued, improving your knowledge. And I've had a little go, being a coach, being a manager, being an academy manager, being an assistant manager, being a first team coach. So I've done a bit of everything and thoroughly enjoyed it.
You're still playing as well. I think, if I got it right, you're still playing at 40. I think your last game was at 40.
Yeah, I think I played I was manager of Boston at the time. Mm-hmm. We just got promotion into the league. Steve Evans had left the club under a bit of a cloud. And I took the job. And I was still playing, when needed. And I think I played my last game when I was about 40. And when it took me 3 months to recover, I thought, right, it's time to hang him up now. You can't get away with that any longer. So, and doing the 2 jobs is impossible anyway. So, but obviously down at that level of football, you don't have huge squads, so sometimes needs must. And I obviously put my boots on and did what I could.
Yeah. Then I think you then went to Leeds and coached there. Was any players that you sort of helped bring through?
I went to Leeds. Kevin Blackwell was manager at the time, and I knew Kevin from my time at Scarborough, because he was our goalkeeper at the time. And Kevin brought me in as academy manager, and I joined an academy who had such a brilliant academy. I mean, there was players who were there at the time, like Aaron Lennon was a scholar at the time, but then lower down, Fab Delph, Danny Rose were like 14, pair of them, and we just had loads of players. Danny Ward, who's played a lot of championship football, and then even further down than that, I was there 7 years, seven 3/4 years, and you've seen players through. Lewis Cook come through. You can remember him joining as a 9-year-old, and Sam Byram and people like that. So really good academy. Thoroughly enjoyed my time there. Played some brilliant football, and to see players develop, and it's weird with youngsters, because sometimes who are the best players at 14 don't end up being the best player. When it's at 20, everyone grows and develops at different rates, and that's certainly true of academy football, and that's what you've got to try and see through, if you know what I mean. Sometimes the best player at the academy at 14 might be the biggest boy in the playground, but when he gets in 2 or 3 years' time, everyone catches him up. He might not be. We certainly at Leeds tended to look for the really technical players, and to nurture them. And like everything, all kids grow, even the littlest ones, and even the ones who don't grow, when they don't grow that big, they actually find a way of developing and being able to cope with the rigours of the game. So yeah, we had a really good academy at Leeds, and I was there 7.75 years, and it was a great time.
Yeah. Now you're now at Sheffield Wednesday. Have you gone down to Ipswich with Sheffield Wednesday? You're a coach and stuff.
Let's have a look. Let me think. Well, I've returned to Ipswich. I remember when I played for Barnsley, I came down. We had a night game, and I pulled my hamstring on about 45 minutes.
Oh no!
I remember that happened. So I didn't come up for the second half, but I've got a great reception at the start of the game. Yeah. Being down, God, let me think. Yeah, definitely. I think a couple of seasons ago, I remember coming down. I think when Dave Jones was manager, I think we won actually. Jay Bothroyd was playing for us at the time. But yeah, I mean, I've been I've been done the under-18s, been a first team coach, done the 23s. I'm helping with the first team at the minute. So yeah, again, done a bit of everything, and yeah, had a real good time coaching. And you get to this stage of your life, and you wonder where the years have gone.
I saw you popped up on Twitter a few years ago, and I saw you doing after dinner speaking and stuff. So what's that experience like?
Yeah, I've done a bit of that. Maybe 2-3 years ago, I got into it a little bit, and then did all right. But then just got busy with football really, and I didn't really pursue it. So yeah, it's tough. It's not easy standing in front of a room and whoever, and they've got to listen to, and you've got to try and make them laugh. So yeah, I bring one or few Ipswich stories up. I've done a little bit on our 9-0 defeat. I've wrote a little script for that, which is quite amusing. Try and make light of it, although it was quite tough at the time. And yeah, and just one or two of your other experiences throughout football. So whether I'll go back to that, I don't know. At the minute, coaching, and obviously not at the minute, you're on lockdown at the minute still a little bit, just getting back into it, but we'll see what happens in the next 2 or 3 years. But I'm just really grateful that I've been able to have a career in football, playing at some fantastic clubs, and staying in the job as a coach, in football as a coach, because I know there's a lot of people out there who played the game a lot higher level than me, and I found it very difficult to get on the coaching side of it. So certainly being in a privileged position, that is for sure.
Do you bump into any former teammates in terms of coaching, or just do you still?
Well, you bump into them occasionally. Which have been up to Sheffield Wednesday when I was doing the 23s. Their 18s come up, and I saw Jason and Kieran Dyer. Speak to Milts every now and again. Kept in touch with Mickey Stockwell for quite a number of years, and certainly in the next year or so I need to get down to the ex-players dinner and just meet up with everyone again. But football's like you like have your friends at the club you're at, and then you move on. And if you had to keep in touch with everyone, you'd never be off the phone. Yeah. So it's sort of you bump into people, and then you reminisce, and then you move on. And as I say, I've just been really privileged to have a career in it, as I know a lot of people haven't. So it's a great industry to be in. It can be pretty cruel at times, but there's certainly worse ways to earn a living, that is for sure.
Well, Neil, it's been a pleasure speaking to me. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, that's fine, pal. No worries, that's great.
From true crime to football, Brexit to folklore. For more great podcasts from Archon, head to audioboom.com/channel/Archon. /Archon.